We're going to begin. All right. Good afternoon, Corona Daze Professional Development Group. It's me, Danette Edwards. Thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I am very excited. You know, I'm always excited. I am very excited.
Danette in the house. She's excited.
Here. I am excited this afternoon. We have a special guest from my LinkedIn family, Mr. Mark Bentcover, and he's going to talk to us his presentation, Finding Your Voice, Living Your Best Life Creates a Better World for Everyone. He's going to talk about how you can find your unique voice, share your voice, discover your passions, and improve the world. So let me tell you about Mark. If Mark were to write a biography of his life so far, I'm sorry, let me start this over. If Mark were to write an autobiography of his life so far, it would be called Almost, the story of the world's best trier. His first years, up to the age of 10, was fairly uneventful. He grew up in Chicago. His dad worked hard to keep a roof over their heads and food in their bellies. His parents filled their home with love, and then they moved to the other side of town and a dark cloud settled over on his life. Whenever he left the protection of his family home, he was subject to bullying, abuse, physical, emotional, and spiritual. His grandmother died, his father died, his best friend died, his dog died, and so on. At that time, Mark discovered music and acting. For decades, he was almost a rock star, almost a famous actor, almost a successful stand-up comedian, almost a famous DJ, almost a best-selling author, almost a respected filmmaker. During that time, he kept a roof over his head and food in his belly by working in IT, engineering, and manufacturing. Now, guys, I am super excited about this presentation. One, because I like Mark, right? But two, I love the fact that Mark is not only a techie, but he's also a creative, and we don't always have that, right? So I'm going to turn this over to Mark right now and mute myself if I can find my mute button. I don't see it.
I don't have to mute yourself. You might have to throw in questions. What did Mark say? Mark's there.
I'm gonna go ahead and mute myself and turn
Stand by the headlights, during the headlights.
Turn this.
Am I live?
Anyway. I'm going to turn this presentation over to Mark and let him go. We're going to take questions at the end. I'll be back. Thank you, Mark. Here you
go. Okay, well, I mean, it's not really a presentation. I'm just going to rip and rant. It's actually one of my subs of my company called Ripping and Ranting with Marky B. So all my blogs and stuff are under that title. Yeah, I didn't even realize I was wearing Boeing. So I worked at Boeing for a long time. That's one of the things I did. And you can't believe everything you read in the papers. That was actually a theme of a post I did yesterday. You can't believe everything you read in the press. So everything they said about the 737 MAX is not necessarily true, but in this day and age, everybody likes hyperbole and all that kind of stuff. Which brings me to me for the beginning of my life. I've always been, well, I have ADD, but that doesn't really matter. All that did was make me try a lot of things and do a lot of stuff. But I am very creative. I've been creative for as long as I can remember. I started reading at a really young age. I love reading. I read a lot. My original instrument was a clarinet and the piano. And then I'm not sure if you know the Flight of the Bumblebee, but the Flight of Bumblebee is that song. It goes da 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 da. It's like a lot of runs. It's like, I forgot what it was written for. It was written for an orchestra, but the main instrument, the point of this story, should there be one, is the main instrument was not the clarinet, but I was like first clarinet in the orchestra, and we had the teacher, the director of was a real. He didn't know how to deal with children, let's put it this way. So for some reason, he got it in his mind that he wanted me to solo on Flight of the Bumblebee. And I'm like, okay, I'll try. So I practice and practice and practice and practice. And I, come to him every week. So we started about 2 months before the concert. And, I'd play and he goes, that's not good enough. You got to practice more. You're not practicing. I'm like, I have been practicing. anyways, fast forward to about a week before the concert, and I was practicing and I just wasn't getting it, and he was not being supportive. And I don't know what came over me, but he like said something, and I had been practicing, and it was a week before the concert. And I remember picking up the clarinet with the mouthpiece pointed that way, so it looked almost like a spare. I threw it at him across the room, and then I ran out of the room and I quit the orchestra. So that was my first quitting. And I'm not proud of that. Also, I didn't realize that my parents had bought that clarinet, and it was my clarinet. So I had to go back and get it. But the point is, my piano and clarinet days ended around, I believe that was the age of 11. And then somehow I found the guitar, and then that has been my life. Here, I'm actually in my studio. There's a couple of keyboards, and then back there, some of my guitar collection. That blue one is my favorite. That's Jeff Beck Stratocaster custom. It's really sweet. So I started playing guitar, and then of course, we all have fantasies. Some people want to be astronauts, some people want to be a doctor, some people want to be a fireman, etc. I wanted to be a rock star, so I started playing. I remember I'm just trying to show my creative arc, and then how I got into engineering, and then come around, and then you can start asking questions and stuff. So I wanted to be a rock star, and my mom and dad were very supportive. It's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, outside the house wasn't that awesome, but we won't go there. So she got me lessons with Howie Mandel, not the stand-up comic, but the guy's name was Howie Mandel, and he taught me his first couple of lessons, and he believed in the Mel Bay method. Mel Bay wrote some really cool books. They're actually really good books to learn. And then me, I was kind of an upstart kind of weasel. So he gave me 2 lessons, and I practiced hard because, I could read music and all that kind of stuff. And I believe I became better than him. And I told my mom, just quit the lessons. I'm going to become better than Howie Mandel, who at that time had been playing like 20 years. I go, I'm going to be better than him in 6 months. Okay, so that sounds conceit, but the truth was, I actually did it. And the way I did it, which is a lesson I learned early, is you find people that had gone before, and you learn from them. So I worked at a movie theater, and this one guy, he's still one of my best friends. His name is Wes. He was an awesome guitarist. He was in bands. He was like my rock star idol. He was where I wanted to go, and he was always several steps ahead of me because he had been playing longer and he was older. So I took lessons from him, and then he passed me on to a studio musician, and I just became really good. Then I got into rock bands, and so I had all this classical music training, and like one of the books was called Rhythmical Articulation, which was for piano, and we just do scales and stuff, and so it was really difficult on the guitar, but I got it. And then I learned that rock bands don't read music, most of them, and so then I lost that skill. I wish I would have kept that skill. But one of the first lessons I learned there is the way the studio musician worked. So he'd give me something. So there's this rhythmical articulation, really difficult sight reading with all kinds of time signatures and keys and running up and down the neck. It was really awesome. So I had the first lesson, and you go, okay, now practice this, piece number 1. So then you practice it for a week, and I'd come back in week 2, and I knew I didn't have it. And so I'd be like, da, 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 da. And he'd be like, okay, well, you obviously don't have that down yet. Good for you. Let's go on to lesson 2. And I'd be like, what? Because I'm used to clarinet and the piano, where it's like, if you didn't get it, you did it again. And if you didn't do it the next week, you did it again. You kept doing it until you're good. This guy's like, all right, good try. I could see you practice. Okay, let's go to lesson 2. So he continues for 11 weeks. So the week 11, I was on lesson 10. I had never played lesson 1 through 9 before that. I mean, after the lesson the week later where I did it. And then on week 11, I played lesson 10, and it was just like all the previous weeks for the lesson I practiced that week. It was like, okay, you could tell I practiced, but it wasn't perfect. He's like, all right, now let's go back to lesson number 1. And I'm like, what? I haven't touched lesson number 1 since week 2. He goes, trust me. And so I did lesson number 1. And I was like, I don't know what I looked like, but this is what I kind of felt like. what? Holy crap. And I played it perfect. And I played 1 through 9 perfect. I was like, I don't understand. So that was my first lesson on perfection. Don't strive for perfection, strive for excellence. Always continue to challenge yourself. And as you challenge yourself, you get to the next step. The previous steps, you're gonna learn them. You'll have enough, you'll get them down. And the same is true for acting. So anyways, I get to the end of high school. I'm in this rock band, and I thought we all decided, apparently I'm a very bad listener, which as I get to the end of this story, you will see why I say that. So we had a band meeting. Sorry, I'm not really good about looking at that camera. I'm like looking here and I notice my eyes are off. So don't worry about that.
Don't worry, it's okay. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay.
You're fine.
Okay. So as any of you that have gone to college, you know, the matriculation process happens around the July frame, and then most people are accepted, you know, like way before, like in May, and you decide in June. Anyway, so it's end of July. I'm in a band meeting with these 3 guys who said, yeah, we're gonna go for it. None of us are gonna go to college. We're gonna go 2.5 years, and we're gonna try to make rock stardom and blah, 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 blah. And then I noticed as we're setting our instruments, tuning, all that kind of stuff, ready for practice, one guy goes, so when are you going to Purdue? He's like, oh yeah, I go 2 weeks from now, I have to go there, I have to be there, early orientation for freshmen. And all 3 of them are talking about college. And I'm just like, what the, you know, F word. And basically they go, oh yeah, we're going to tell you, we're all going to college. I could have had a V8. So I had been accepted, but I didn't do anything about it because I didn't think I needed it. So luckily, University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana accepted me late. And so that started my illustrious college career. Have you ever seen Animal House, where Bluto takes 7 years to get his degree? Or actually, he was in 7 years and get a degree. It took me 7 years to get my bachelor's degree. And here's why. I didn't want to go to college. So for the first 3 years, I just meandered around, you know, picking this major, that major. The early ones had something to do with music, but then I realized getting a degree, a bachelor's degree with anything related to music only helped if you were going to be like in an orchestra, you're going to teach music, or be like a recording engineer, none of which I wanted to be. I wanted to play. So I played throughout college. At that time, there's a lot of cool bands coming up, and I actually met people like Robert Fripp from King Crimson, most of the early band members from REO Speedwagon, and people like that. So that's pretty cool. Oh, and I met Adrian Ballou, one of my favorite guitarists. He used to hang out in the Red Lion Inn. He was pretty cool. Anyway, so I gave up on my rock star dreams, and about the 4th year, was it the 4th year? Yeah, the 4th year is there. I'm like, man, if I don't pick a mate. No, sorry, it's the 15th. So the 5th year in college, I'm going to decide what to get a degree in. Yeah, that's, by the way, don't do what I do. Learn from me. So the 5th year, I'm like, okay, wow, if I don't pick a degree and stick to it, I'm never going to graduate. This is kind of a waste of time. So fortunately or unfortunately, I'm really smart in math and the STEM subjects. And so the school was at that time an AP professor rated. There's like 4 ratings with colleges. University of Illinois Champaign was 1st or 2nd position, kind of vying. It was MIT and University of Illinois Champaign for electrical engineering. So I said, hey, I'll be an electrical engineer. Odd thing is, kind of aside, I was actually going out with a girl that was like 1 year older than me. And the only thing I knew in junior, the only intelligent question I knew when I was a junior to ask was, what's your major going to be? She said engineering. No kidding. She said engineering. And this dude's response was, remember, I grew up in Chicago, so you'll understand in a second. You have to go to school to become an engineer on a train? So the only engineer I knew was the guys who ran on the CTA and the Metro. Those guys were called engineers. So yeah, she just looked at me, shook her head, and said, "You're done. We're done." So anyways, that leaves us. What?
She dumped you after that, right?
Yeah. She looked at me because I guess her dad was an engineer. Yeah, she just looked at me. He goes, you're an idiot. I go, I guess so. I guess I'm an idiot. Oh well. Then so I graduated and I got a job at Boeing, which my second love is. My parents got me a telescope, so I just all dreamed about stars and astronauts and space travel, and I love science fiction and all that. And so when I got a bunch of job offers, but when Boeing offered me, I'm like, cool. And it was on the military side, so I like worked with satellites, missiles, B-1B, all kind. I know that's aging me. The B-1B and different just military vehicles, and then I went to the commercial side and worked on the 378747. My last job was Charleston, South Carolina, so it's pretty cool. But along the way, I dabbled in. I always had the side hustle of creative. So one funny story about my acting career. So the most I made in any given year as an actor, and I did it at the same time I had clarinet. I did acting too. So I probably acted for 20 plus years. Haven't done it for 10 years. Anyway, so I was new to the corporate America, right? And so like I didn't know any better. I thought like everybody uses sick leave for vacation days, right? Okay, anyway, so don't do that. If you get caught, it's bad. So this time, very first time I did this, and why I don't do it ever again, is I got a gig for a Wrigley's Big Red commercial. The scene was I was the big guy sitting in a three row of seats. I was a big guy by the window. Then there was a guy in the middle, and then there was a like the beautiful girl on the other side. And my role was to bump the guy into the girl, and they look at each other, and then they take a big red gun, big red. But that's not the story. And that story isn't about my commercial work. It's the fact that I called in sick so I can do the gig. My agent calls me and says, I need your social security and all that kind of information so we can get in on the site and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he takes that information and I go, well, what's the location? It was the first floor of the building, the Boeing building that I worked in. There's this mock-up of 737, and that's where they're filming. And I'm just like, oh my God, they're going to be filming. My supervisor's going to come down, kind of, because it's a cool thing. Hey, they're filming. Let's go check it out. And he'll come see me in the commercial. So I called him right away. And I'm like, Mr. Ferris, I was wondering if I could have it in advance, because at that time I hadn't been there, and you accrue vacation time. You get sick leave right away, but you accrue vacation time like paycheck by paycheck, and I'd only been there like a couple weeks. So I'm like, Mr. Ferris, can I have an advance on my vacation? I want to change my sick leave to vacation. Anyways, I told him, and he was really cool about it, and he laughed and I laughed. I'm like, so glad you're laughing, because this Boeing's important to me, but kind of acting is my passion too. So that's an acting story, and also what not to do in corporate America. So anyways, I went along and worked at Boeing, and then how I got into tech was, I think it was 5 years into Boeing, there was an economic downturn. Hey, kind of like today, right? And so I got laid off, and I looked at all my skills and I said, what am I going to do? And at that time, weirdly enough, engineers were in high demand. I don't know why. Maybe because a lot of them got laid off and there was a lot of experienced engineers, and I was just a junior engineer for 5 years. And I'd always been into computers. Like I know it's going to age me again for all you youngsters. This is pre-Apple, pre-Microsoft, pre-everything. But I had Commodore Amiga, badass computer at that time. had like, so many colors. And I'm not even going to tell you how many, because you'd laugh. Be like, the worst computer today they can buy today is better than like that computer. But I had an Amiga and an Atari. I built a Heath kit on my own for helping me through college. A cousin of mine sold K-Pros, which the K-Pro is the first portable computer. You go look it on the computer history and see a K-Pro. K-Pro is probably like, I'm guessing 12 inches by 2 feet by 2.5 feet. I'm guessing the smaller one weighed like 26 pounds. And there's this metal case with hinges, and you carried it around like a big old giant file cabinet. Then you'd lay it on the ground and you unsnap this thing and it would fold down, and that would be the keyboard. And then there's would be this 3x3, that's right, 3x3 screen with green characters. And you had to load the operating system every freaking time. That was a portable computer. Sorry, I do rabbit trails. That's how my mind works. All right, back to phone. So anyways, I had a history of IT. Back then, hackers wasn't a dirty word. Hackers is how you learned how to program, because there wasn't a lot of, like, the internet was not big then. I'm still in the military infancy stages. Yes, this is a long time ago. And so in order to learn, you had to just do it yourself, kind of like, and then you hook up with other people. It's like, hey, I want to do this program that does this and networks that. How do you do that? You just learn by doing. So here's another lesson: transferable skills. I had no working background in IT whatsoever. I'm not even sure if they called it IT then. Probably still called it computer science or something. Anyway, I had no background in computers professionally, but I was a badass IT person because, I did it on the side, built my own computers, even way back then, even though you had to load the operating system with a floppy disk. Floppy, that's right. Yes, this is the IT history. So I got a job in IT, and that was probably professionally, with the exception of after this period, but at that time, that period, I was in professional bliss. It was awesome. We were at the forefront. Microsoft was just coming up. Apple was just coming up, and they were big, but they're not as big as they were today. And I just went into consulting, and I got to work with companies and do all kinds of cool stuff. One of my last projects was installing Salesforce.com. I worked with Exelon, Bank of America, CNA, just tons of really cool companies. And then I started my own business, which this will probably be, I'm not counting anymore, but this is another life lesson to start my own business, because the business I was in, their consulting group was closing. And so I talked to the owner and I said, hey, can I take this big project because I'm on it already, and you're closing, you move on to other stuff? And he goes, yeah, sure. So I started my own little company, and we did pretty well. But what happened is I was an enterprise architect. So I did some of the gigs as an enterprise architect. So one of the people doing the stuff. Then I had to do all the books and all that kind of crap because I was the guy. And then I had to do RFPs and all that kind of stuff. So I had 3 jobs basically, and I was just killing myself. And luckily, Boeing came a calling. So someone I worked for Boeing before said, hey, when you were here last, weren't you working on this continuous improvement thing? And I had done a continuous improvement project. So like Lean, Six Sigma, all that kind of good stuff, theory of constraints. How are we doing on time, by the way? I'm just rambling. Ramble.
Well, you've been 25 minutes.
Okay, how long?
Yeah.
How long should I go? All right, I'll fast forward.
How long do you want to go? Where are you going? We finding our voice.
All right, I'm almost done.
All right.
So I went back to Boeing, it's a continuous improvement thing, and that's where I worked at Charleston. And I developed an expertise. I never say that, but I call myself a mark of all trades, master of some. So one of the things I'm pretty good at is continuous improvement. And that is my most marketable skill in corporate America. And so I've taken jobs there. It's not love. It's not what I love. I love the creative expression thing. And so I did that for Boeing. Then I moved to Lam Research, which is a semiconductor company that builds wafer fabrication equipment. Did that for 5 years. Got laid off. Did some of my own stuff. Then I went to the company I work for now, IGT, and they're working on moving all their stuff to Brazil and Mexico. So that job might not last much longer either. Let's see. Oh, and then I joined Growth Academy. If you've not heard that, Shanae Moray, it's very successful. Like I would say, Danette and her are peers. It's about their popularity and the people they influence, and they're 2 of my favorite people on the face of the planet. Just because what they stand for and what they're doing and what they're up to. It's really incredible. So I joined Growth Academy, And because I like to surround myself with successful people, because surrounding yourself with successful people and seeing people that have gone before you doing something you want to do, that's how you learn and that's how you advance, and they challenge you too. So that's going to make you stretch and learn and all that kind of stuff. And so what Growth Academy did for me is I went in there just to associate with successful people. I had no side gig. As you can see, I have my own recording studio. So several times a week, I write 1 or 2 or 3 or sometimes 5 songs in a week and record them. And that's just fun for me. I don't really share it with anyone. But in the course of joining Growth Academy, in a 2.5-day period, some of my outside Growth Academy, some in LinkedIn, outside of LinkedIn, in Growth Academy, outside of Growth Academy, there was a 2.5-day period where about 10 people, probably 5 outside, 5 inside, said, hey, you write pretty well. Have you ever thought about making a living writing? I'm like, yeah, I had a novel that I wrote, and it got rejected by 75 publishers and agents, and it's still in the can. On LinkedIn, I created this group. It didn't do very well, but it actually started the seed of the idea of what I'm going to do on the side. It's called Finding Your Voice. So I'm all about everyone discovering what their passion is, what makes them tick, and then living that passion. And one of the ways you live that passion is you learn how to communicate and find your voice and communicate that message to the world, and you will attract others. So I have 2 LinkedIn live events that are recorded on the series. I plan on doing 4 or 5, just me as a talking head, talking about the concepts behind it and how to find your passion and how to voice it. And then after that, I'll start interviewing people. Danette will be one of my wish lists. So this is people that have found their voice and just go, hey, how did you get there? What was the process? Blah, blah, blah. Kind of like I'm doing now, but much better and more succinctly. So that's what I'm about now, is finding your voice. I'm creating, I missed the deadline, which might post on LinkedIn today. I missed the deadline. I was trying to launch my website, eocstudios.com. Don't go there yet. I was supposed to release it yesterday, and then I had some technical problems. Unfortunately, my domain name, nothing against GoDaddy, but my domain names are in GoDaddy, and GoDaddy's website builder is really geared towards smartphones, and so that's okay. That's one media I want to be on, but I want to be everywhere. So in midstream, like right before I was going to launch, I just accepted that GoDaddy website builder was not good enough, and I have a paid subscription now to a Wix. So Wix.com, unfortunately, well, it's not unfortunate, it's a reality. So that's another lesson, learn the reality. So Wix.com, in order to connect to GoDaddy, is a 48-hour wait period. So I'm right now in that 48-hour wait period. But Wix.com is really cool, but figure out what website you want to do. So that's what I'm all about, is finding your passion, living that passion, and you live that passion by using your voice, being a unique voice in the world. Because I believe that all of us together, living our best life, creates a better world for everyone. And that's what I'm all about. Now, you can ask any questions. I didn't really talk about stand-up, but oh well.
I love it. Now my phone is ringing. So I love it, Mark. And I asked Mark to come because I saw that he was posting every day, and I said, hey, this guy looks like he writes well. And then I clicked his profile, and
you were the one.
And he said did you say copywriter? Does it say copywriter?
Oh yeah. So that's my foray into the big picture. Copywriting.
Yes, and I said, oh, he writes. But then I looked and I said, well, wait a minute, he's an engineer. And I just, yeah, so.
She said it just like that.
And so I was
like, he's an engineer.
Yes. So that is what drew me to Mark. He was sharing his voice. Like he says, find your passion, share your voice. He was sharing his voice. I said, hey, I kept seeing him on lives. He was in the chat in a couple of the lives, and then I saw his post. But one of the reasons I wanted Mark to come here is because I know there are many people in the group like him, right? So we have a lot of our members who you have something else you want to do. And it's not what you've been doing. It's not, what you are doing now. And I want you to know that it's okay to find that, right? To find that passion, and you might even be forced into it right now. You may be forced into it because you may be facing unemployment or underemployment, right? It doesn't matter why. Or things might be good, right? Things might be good, but we shouldn't be too comfortable, right? And I think we all should pursue what makes us tick, pursue our passions. So that's why I asked Mark to come on here. He's an aspiring writer. You know, he was almost, right? But one thing,
almost.
yeah,
I get a t-shirt.
yes, he's the poster child for trying, and that's what we need to do. All need to remember to try. Like, so if you are unemployed or you're underemployed or you're in an industry and you see that industry is not for you, I want you to know that you too can find your voice, right? You can share your voice and you will attract people to you. And
weirdly enough, okay, I'm kind of blessed. I have a day job, got a roof over my head, got food over my belly. I mean, Thanksgiving we had a prize. But I actually don't take this the wrong way, but I envy some of you who don't have a day gig right now. You have an opportunity. Yes, it hurts. Yes, it's good to have food in your belly and all that kind of money, but you have an opportunity to create a money management venture for you that you will love. So it might be hard now, but you don't have any distractions. Yeah. Go for it.
Yeah.
Me, I'm worried, and I'm going to use people like Danette. This is also why I have successful in my life. I use people like Danette and the Growth Academy and all that kind of stuff. And my dog, which I close the door. So
yeah, she's right here.
Let's show the cute boots. Show the cute
jump up. Yeah,
yeah.
She's just whimpering.
Let her. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is an opportunity for you because I'm worried. I'm going to use my support infrastructure. And by the way, you should surround yourself with community who's going to support you in what you want to do and push you. So I'm looking to Danette and everybody that's connected to me and Growth Academy that not let me become too comfortable. I don't want to be comfortable in my day job.
Yeah.
I want to be good at it. I'm going to go for it, bull hog, be 100% my heart into it when I'm doing it. But then when I'm out of work, I'm going to work on this gig because this gig within a year and a half, I want to have the big picture. I want to have eocstudio where I'm inviting people like yourself who want to write or writing music, visual artists, video, whatever. I'm going to create a community. I haven't looked into Facebook groups yet, but I'm going to do that.
You need to.
Yeah, create a Facebook group where you can come in because one of my favorite artists, whose name I can't remember again. Oh, she's a famous jazz bassist and vocalist from the Portland area. Her last album. Yeah. So this is where I got the idea, but I want to make it bigger. So her last album, she actually invited a group of fans. I think it was 100. It's either 100 or 500, and you had to pay a fee, and you could be in this blog and this group. And she would go, hey, here's the demo of my first song. What do you think? Thinking of calling it this. And they were involved in the creative process. That was awesome. And then she released the album. And if you were part of that group, then you could buy the CD with her special signature on it. I'm like, I mean, not the pay part, but I want to do that with artists, bringing artists of all kinds with art lovers together in that creative process. So that's what the big EOC is. And I'll be creating art on the side or in it. I don't know.
I love it. I just want to share with you because you are not on Facebook. So I want to share with you some of these comments that you received, Mark. I love this guy. He is extremely intriguing. Mark, you're radiating such great energy. Animal House, funny movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
Yeah. So
when the top get going, dun, 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 dun. They go. I love Bluto. John Belushi will be missed.
No, I want everyone to know, even though these are challenging times, we're in this daze, this DAZE, this Corona days, that this is a green light. This is a green light to pursue what you love, right? And sometimes people don't know how to find their passions, right? And I would challenge anyone who's on this on this webinar now or watching the replay to think about what brings you real joy. You know, what do you really love? Even if you can't figure out a way to monetize it today.
Yeah, and I have a 5-step process.
Yeah, somebody has a 5-step process you can buy, right?
Oh, no, it's not for sale right now. It's free.
Yeah, you know.
But I'll figure out how to monetize it later.
Yes, you know, but think about what it is that you love. The other thing you should think about is, what are the things that people always ask you to do? What do they come to you for, right? In the workplace, in your personal life. Jot these things down. What do you love to do? What do I like to do? What brings me enjoyment? What would I like to learn? What do people always ask my advice about? What do people always ask my help for? Write all of these things down. This is the first step to figuring out, you know, how can
two of my favorite questions.
What's that?
Two of my favorite questions to get to it are, what would you do that if you knew you absolutely could not fail, what would you do?
Oh,
and the other one, if you're monetarily motivated, what if someone, it used to be $1 million, when I up it, because that was 20 years ago. So what if someone gave you $10 million? So money wasn't an object. You could do whatever you want, and you're just given $10 million. What would that be? So one of those two questions is the entry into your passion and how you can monetize.
Yeah, and it seems like there was a long time for me that I felt like I wasn't passionate about anything. I knew that I wanted.
What?
Yeah, I felt like I was in grad school and I wanted to redevelop housing. That's what I went to school for, urban policy, and I wanted to develop housing for people who who are working, you know, working class housing. Because I'm a New Yorker and housing was always very expensive for my mom. And it was something that it was always a strain. And I said, you know, my mom worked really hard. She worked more than one job and was a reservist. And I wanted people to have decent housing. So that motivated me to go to grad school. But I felt like it wasn't a passion. It was out of a personal need, right? It was something and so I would, and this speaks to when Mark says, surround yourself with successful people. So I would always be drawn to people who were passionate about something, right? So my friends would be people who were poets and passionate about poetry or passionate about being a writer. I have a very good friend who's a master chef, and the way she food and food history, right? I would gravitate toward people who were passionate about things. And then I realized, what am I passionate about? I am passionate about helping people reach their success. Like, just find what it is that you have inside of you, because we all have something inside of us that will help us recognize our greatness. And that is my passion, helping people to find that. So
and you're good at it.
You think? There was something I just, for some reason, I said, I gotta get this guy on. I don't know what it is. I need Mark to talk. I know you're speaking to someone right now because you're speaking to me. And again, I'll say it again. I love the fact that you are a techie and a creative. You know, people are usually either or most times. I'm neither, not a techie or creative. But I want people to draw from your experience that you can have multiple lives. Sounds like you had quite a few. You know?
Yes, I'm a cat and I'm on my 9th life.
You can have multiple lives. And so if you feel like this one or the one that you had pre-COVID has ended, that's okay. You can create a totally new one. And this new one, if you go within and you think about what's going to bring you joy and what will really, really give you fulfillment, that this one might be the best one yet, right? Because it may not just, you know, speak to you. Then you can also make some money doing what you love.
Yeah, my dad used to say, not, you shouldn't compare yourself to others in a bad way, like comparing yourself. Oh, look at that, she's got hundreds of thousands of followers and she got a book and I only have 200. Not that way, but look at her as an aspiration. Like, whoa, Net did it. And then my father used to say, And then this is a lot of my posts because I always thought it was funny. I call him the Jewish Will Rogers, because he would like say stuff and you're like, the hell are you talking about, sir? So like I'd fall down or be like really sad about something and be crying, and like he'd come up to me and he's like, look, son, there's other people in the world that have had less opportunity, less skills, less intelligence, less whatever than you, who accomplished more than you.
Yeah.
Get up off your butt and move forward with water in your eye. He wouldn't even say crying. It's like water in your eye.
Water in your eye. I love it.
Yeah, I miss him. He died when I was 15.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
But he said stuff like that.
Right. And it's still with you today. I love it. Those lessons, right? Those life lessons. Well, I have my questions. Anything you want to say again, Mark? Anything else you want to say to us before I get into my questions?
No, other than if you have questions, two things. You can email me at eocstudio@gmail.com or connect with me on LinkedIn. It's really hard, Mark-Bentcover. So my name with a dash in the middle. But I think I'm the only Mark Bentcover on, so if you search on Mark Bentcover.
Well,
it's
guys,
spelled like Bentcover, just not pronounced that way.
In the on our Facebook,
and I'll have a Facebook group soon.
Yes, please. I will post all of Mark's contact information. You should connect with him. He writes things that make me think every day. So I would encourage you to follow him on LinkedIn, connect with him on LinkedIn. And also, if anyone is in the Zoom, you will get Mark's contact information, and then it will be posted on YouTube with this video. So I'm going to go ahead to my questions. I have three of them. All right. So someone says, "Oh my God, I resonate with this dude. He's a comedian. I love his sense of humor." You got to get on Facebook because you can't see the good comments if you don't get on Facebook, Mark. All right. So
I know.
Yeah, you got, I don't know.
Just for you techies, I used to be on Facebook and I got off for a reason, but I'll get back on.
Yeah, you got to get back on. All right. So I'll go with my questions. So Mark, Corona Daze Professional Development Group was founded because of COVID-19, unemployment and underemployment, and just unfulfillment, period, right?
Yeah.
And while we work with people, our focus is people from marginalized groups and BIPOC individuals. We are open to everyone. We've also learned here that it doesn't matter what race you are, what gender, what religion, what sexual preference or anything, that anyone can be marginalized. And so I ask everyone who comes, if you consider your life, do you think you've ever been marginalized? And if so, would you be willing to share with us about that?
Wow. So the world is so weird. So today's post was day 57 of 90 because I have a 90-day challenge. But today, I don't know if you know who Ruth Mae Brown is, but I think she's like 70 years old now, but she was like a preeminent feminist, author, lesbian, just a marginalized group. So since I missed my deadline on the website, I was like beating myself up and going, oh God, I missed my deadline. I'm never going to have my passion, my company, blah, blah, blah. So a quote of hers was, I wish I could remember it. It's like inspiration. Deadlines can be a bad form of inspiration, but it's better than no inspiration at all. So in that post, I talked about missing my deadline, but I started off with I was first marginalized. So I'm Jewish, and as some of you may know, I don't claim to know the Black experience in America, although I have many Black friends, and they've told me, and I've been with them where I was just like, what? That's not right. But Jews have been marginalized like the entire time. And I know the stereotypical thing is they're rich. I didn't grow up rich. We were lower class. And then at the end of my dad's life, we made it to lower middle class. Woohoo! But but with what little he had, they did a great job. I can't believe it. What my parents did with how little they had, I can't complain at all. But outside the house, actually my post today was about, I think I was 12. And so I had my best friend, which I will not name him, but he'll know who he is. We were playing like war or something in an empty lot. And then we got in a fight. I don't even remember what it was about yet, but I remember vividly the end of the fight. It was like a group of 10 friends, and 4 were holding him back, 4 were holding him back, and they're actually pulling him away. And as he was as he was getting pulled away, he goes, "I don't ever want to play with you again, you Jesus killing stupid kike."
Oh.
And so me, as a 12-year-old, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what Jesus killing meant, because I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
I'd never been to church. And I know what kike meant. I didn't know kike was like the N-word for Jews. I didn't know that. So anyway, that friendship ended that day. And then I don't know what happened. Something happened, I think, internally. And so from 12 to graduation of high school, whenever I was outside the house, when we moved across town, so I had to take a bus to school. And there was this one guy who just beat on me. I have no idea why. I was kind of small until freshman year of college when I got big. And I didn't have a lot of confidence. And my mom dressed me. She might as well just put a punch me sign on, because some of the things she dressed me in, which might be cool today, but not cool then. So anyways, I just get beat on, abused. I was sexually abused. I was emotionally abused. I was spiritually abused, all kinds of abuse. And I don't even know if my siblings know this. They know about the abuse because I've told them, but in junior high, my mom would come once a week or once every other week to my junior high, because I'd be in the nursing office because I just felt really, really bad. Not physically, this was emotional.
Emotionally.
So, I mean, it got so bad, we went and got an EKG and all those, whatever they do for internal and doing your brain, because it was all emotional stress. And I was getting, if I continued that way, I would have gotten an ulcer or something worse. So I don't know what happened, but something snapped in 8th grade, and I just became numb. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to take this crap anymore. I mean, people can do whatever, but I'm not going to let it get to me. That's when I kind of went into guitar and escaped into science fiction and movies and all that kind of stuff. So, I've been marginalized. That lasted for like 7 years.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Mark. I asked the question of everyone who comes here because I want our members to know that if they are currently feeling like they are marginalized or have been marginalized, that in spite of marginalization, we have presenters that come into this group. Like you said, I found my voice. I'm using my passion, right? I'm making a better place. They have success. You have success. You've had quite a few successful careers, right?
I mean, I did it and had fun,
Yeah, and so that's why I asked. Yes, that's why I ask the question, so that our members can hopefully gain strength and encouragement from your journey. So thank you for sharing that, Mark. My second question is my favorite question, and that is, if you were to go back many years ago to your younger self and you tapped yourself on the shoulder, what advice would you give yourself? Oh, your baby wanted to come in. Mine is finally in the window. Thank God, she can sit in the window. She went to sit in the window. What advice would you give yourself about your career, finding your passion? Like what advice would you give yourself about your journey if you could go back to a younger Mark?
So that's a really interesting question. So the older me, I like who I am now, and everything I did kind of led to that.
Okay.
But I also see what I'm up to now. It's getting back to like making money with music, making money with writing, all that kind of stuff. So on the one hand, although I like who I am, and I wouldn't change a thing. It's like, no, I tell it's like, hey, you know what? Just find your passion. You really like music, you like writing, find a way to make money doing that. so that you can enjoy every second of your life. I
All
mean,
right.
it's not about happiness, it's more about satisfaction and fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Just say, hey, you like that, go with it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And my final question is, let me just check the chat and see if anybody dropped a question because I like to have the last word.
I think I knew that about you.
So I think I like to have the last word. So I'm just going to see if anybody posted anything else before I go to this one, and then I'll give you our final question. But I really thank you. I thank you for sharing, Mark. I think that you have a very inspiring story. I think everyone has a story inside of them that they need to get out. And that your story is going to help so many people. So I don't have any other questions from the group. So
come on, people.
My final question is, if we had one takeaway from today, Mark, what do you want that to be for us?
Just kind of my tagline. So that I'll just tell it in 3 parts. So the first part is my mission statement, if you will. So my passion statement is music plus tech plus writing equals fun and passion in my life. Oh. So you got to find that, what drives you. That's what drives me. Right. So that's the first thing, find that. And then, work to find the passion. And then, find your voice, because living your best life creates a better world for everyone. And the way you live your best life is you find your passion, and then you live your passion. And through living your passion, that's your voice in the world. So we have a beautiful choir of humankind, and we need all the different voices. Don't be somebody else's voice. Don't parrot anybody. Be yourself. Find yourself. Express yourself, because that's the world I want to live in. And I'm a very selfish guy. So by you living your passion, being it, then I'm going to have more fun. You're going to have more fun. And it's not even all about fun. It's about passion. I mean, sometimes we're going to have hard times or whatever, but that will carry you through.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Mark. Guys, this will be in our group. If you find value from this presentation or any other Corona Daze professional development presentation, please share it with your network. And thank you, Mark. You are welcome to come back anytime you like. And I can't wait for you to join Facebook so you can
tomorrow. Thank you very much.
All right, Mark. Have a good evening.
All right.
All right.
All right. You too. Bye.